Hey, how are we doing out there, GNTC folks? Happy to be with you guys this semester. My name is Mr. Volpe. I live down in Marietta in Cobb County. Just moved back from Florida in the during the summer. I used to teach at GNTC started in 2013. I was there on site at the Dalton campus until May of 2016. Moved to Florida for 8 years, just came back this summer, and I've been with GNTC and local area high schools in an online capacity ever since 2013. So I'm happy to be with you all online in this asynchronous format for our ENGL English 1102, that is literature and composition. So we've completed 1101, rhetoric and composition. A little bit of change in focus here. Instead of looking at the different modes of discourse, argumentative, narrative, descriptive, compare, contrast, etc. In this course, we're more focused on analysis and argumentation, evaluation as well, when it comes to works of literature. So that is mostly for us going to be in the form of short stories, poems, and we will finish with a play at the end of the year. Our play that we will read will be A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. More on that later in the term. Yeah, by this time I expect you guys have looked at your syllabus in the Start Here tab. When you open up the content section of the course. The first module, Writing About Literature, all those are really great resources and supplementary material when it comes to actually writing and researching. And in there we had our no-show discussion, dealing with a piece of literature, a story, genre that you really gravitate toward. Make sure in discussion forums you are thoroughly answering the prompt and you are responding to another person for full credit. If you don't respond to a peer member but you've made your response, you could expect a top score of 85% on your discussion forums. Discussion forums are usually 30 points, journals as well. Those are engagement tools. And then the analysis questions dealing with the works that we're reading, those are about 50 points usually. And then essays are going to be worth more than that. We have some analysis essays, and then we will have a final research essay on our play at the end of the term. So where are we right now? We are in the short fiction unit. Last week's selections dealt with plot and setting, and the representative stories there were Kate Chopin's A Story of an Hour and Jack London's To Build a Fire. So two titans of American literature there. Kate Chopin is dealing with gender roles and sort of societal expectations of how women and wives are expected to act upon hearing news of their husband's apparent death or some misfortune has befallen, and how are women supposed to react to that. So we're really exploring the kind of psychology of Miss Mallard and kind of the emotional vicissitude she goes throughout this very short story, the story of an hour throughout the context of 1 hour. So all that information in that brief snapshot and that lovely little ironic, ambiguous twist there at the end. And I'm a huge Jack London fan, To Build a Fire. Jack London was a naturalist writer, writing often about how nature does not care about you. Nature is a brutal, unfeeling force that is what it is. You are a puny human. Deal with it. So To Build a Fire definitely exemplifies that kind of theme there in spades. And for those two stories, you had some analysis discussion questions. Those are due by Sunday the 12th. Of course, I'm recording this video on Sunday the 12th. So look to grade that for you guys starting this week. graded your discussion forum. For this week, we're going to move on to the character and point of view section in our short fiction module. So if you open the short fiction module, go to stories, and this time instead of opening plot and setting, you'll open, let's see, characters and point of view. 2 stories this week. One, Araby, one of my favorites from James Joyce, about a young man who wants to impress a love interest of his, and things go wrong, and he's devastated at the end. And then Miss Brill by Catherine Mansfield, a story about a solitary woman and her perceptions of what's going on around her, and how she feels kind of isolated from the great busy animated world going on around her, and get a glimpse of how people view her as well, and how that is kind of a sad story as well there. There are analysis questions for Araby and Miss Brill. If you go to the bottom of the selections there under the characters and point of view subsection in our module 2, you'll see the analysis questions there. 50 points due by Sunday. Make sure you are using MLA in text citations as needed. If you ever need a refresher on that, you can reach out and ask, or I would go to Purdue OWL, which you guys used in 1101, for a refresher on in-text citations using the author's last name, usually in the page number, for a piece of prose. So just make sure you guys are crediting the primary source if you are asked to use textual evidence and cite from your story. So this week, yes, we have the 2 stories, Araby and Miss Brill. Those analysis questions are due by Sunday, that is the 19th. Due by Friday, though, the 17th, is a reflection on the 2 stories we read last week. So I'm asking that, and that's how it'll kind of proceed. You'll have discussion questions one week, and then the following week you'll revisit those stories in kind of a reflective mode. So backtracking a little bit, these are in the module 2 short fiction, but they're going to be in the plot and setting section. So at the bottom of the plot and setting section, you'll see Chopin in London, plot and setting, and that is your journal. So probably do the journal first. Okay. Due on the 17th, you'll see the prompt there. Make sure you are thoroughly answering and watch your grammar, punctuation, capitalization, all that stuff. So after you do your journal, again in the F1 plot setting section under short fiction stories, I would then turn to the 2 stories for this week, characters and point of view, F2, Araby and Miss Brill, and then you'll see the Araby and Miss Brill analysis questions at the bottom of the F2 section there. So after we're finished with short fiction, still have a couple weeks on that. We'll move to poetry and then drama. We will have an analysis essay at the end of our, or toward the end of our short fiction unit. That'll be in a couple weeks, probably week 4. This is week 2. Then we'll move on to poetry. But staying in fiction right now, just recap, as of you seeing this video, what should be turned in? Well, your discussion forum for the no-show, that's on your favorite genre, your favorite mode of storytelling, and then the discussion questions on To Build a Fire and The Story of an Hour. Those should be in the can by the time you guys are watching this. In terms of late work, I'm kind of a sink or swim kind of instructor, meaning if you're keeping along, following along, keeping up with your reading and your discussion questions, good on you. Late work, only if you have a valid extenuating circumstance, and I'd appreciate it if you guys can reach out to me before. I realize things happen and things arise. It's not always, we're not always able to do that. I'm pretty understandable and flexible, but what I really don't like is a student who's been kind of absent from the course, not really doing anything, and then 5 weeks later says, hey, what did I miss? Come on. So I'm willing to work with you so long as it's evident that you have been working hard, doing your best. Okay. But if I get the impression that you've just kind of tossed off the the course, you've been kind of dipping in and out, less likely to prioritize your requests. So just, it's an online course. It brings its own challenges. Just make sure you're keeping up with everything. All right, and finally, I'll end with the big boogeyman AI, ChatGPT. Look, I know we all use it. Genie's out of the bottle. However, if I ever get the impression that you are using AI to generate writing, that is a zero. I will usually ask you, hey, are you sure you wrote this? I'm not so comfortable grading this in good faith, in good conscience, with a high suspicion that you cooked this with ChatGPT. Now, the benefit for you, if you do like to cheat and use ChatGPT, is I don't really know your writing style yet, so I can't really flag you on that stuff out of the gate. But look, let's just try to be ethical and actually use our own minds and brains when it comes to generating compositional material, writing. Let's try our best with that, because really, if you're using ChatGPT to like whole cloth write your essays, you're wasting your time and you're wasting my time. I might as well not be a teacher if we're just gonna, pop in something in ChatGPT and just, phone in whatever it, devises for us. I realize it's a temptation, it's there. It's not to discourage you from using it altogether. If you need help or clarification, or maybe rewording something that you're trying to word it in your own voice, but maybe it's just too awkward, you don't know how to do it, I'd advise you to come to me first, email me, and I'll help you. But, little helpful tweaks, generative AI is fine. I'm fine, at least, with you using it for that. But again, the whole cloth reproduction of a composition, whether it be a homework assignment or an essay, you should not use generative AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, anything for that. It should come from your brain. The analogy I like to draw there is you have to work out to make the team. And instead of you working out to make the team, you get your friend to work out for you. So you had to do, 15 burpees. And you're like, I don't feel like doing that. Hey, Jeff, you do my burpees for me. Well, you're not building your cardiovascular system, your muscular system, your respiratory system. Jeffrey's doing it for himself. You're not benefiting. You're not growing. You're not getting stronger. Same thing with ChatGPT. If you're just relying on it to do the work for you, I don't know what you're doing. I know what you're doing, but I don't know what you're doing as a student in a college level course. Okay, so, honor system with that stuff. I do have ways to check. I rely on my own intuition a lot of times because I've read, thousands of essays at this point. I know what sounds authentic and what sounds robotic. It's just kind of like a second nature thing. But also I do have actual tools to help me with that. We use SafeAssign at the school. So yeah, my suspicions are just up from Jump Street when it comes to students using AI. So, just help relax my suspicions, please, and do things in an authentic, genuine manner, and we'll all be peachy keen. All right, so a reminder, your stories this week: Araby by James Joyce, Miss Brill by Catherine Mansfield. Make sure you answer your reflection journal on the stories from last week. Those will be in the plot and setting section. And for this week, you want to make sure you do your discussion forum, your analysis questions due Friday. So again, you're backtracking a little bit to the plot and setting section to do your reflection from last week's readings. And then for this week's readings, you're doing your analysis questions at the bottom of F2, which is the character point of view section in short fiction. I'm going to keep it at that. Keep these around 10 to 15 minutes each week. Any questions or concerns, you reach out to me via email. Mr. Volpe here signing off. Have a good week, folks. Good to meet you. Toodles.